welcome to another episode of Jasmine First Impression Sports Talk. Today we have a great show for you guys. I'm so excited. It's a lot of star-studded topics we're going to be talking about, so let's get started.
Welcome to Jasmine Pollock's First Impression Sports Talk, the fastest growing sports talk show in the country. And now, here's your host, Jasmine Pollock.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. And the first topic of the night, obviously the big news that broke this past week, is Tyreek Hill being traded to the Miami Dolphins. So I want to get into the particulars. So the Chiefs acquired five future picks from the Dolphins, and Tyreek Hill now he is the highest paid wide receiver right now with a 4-year deal with 72 million guaranteed and 120 million. That is huge. So Jeremy, I want to bring you in. You're a Dolphins fan, diehard Dolphins fan. After getting the new coach Mike McDaniel, former offensive coordinator, having Jalen Waddle, having Tua, having Devontae Parker, all these great weapons, what was your reaction to the Dolphins trading for Tyreek Hill?
Well, when it comes to me and my reactions, it is putting the pieces together. Now, it started off small by small, especially cutting a lot of bad pieces off, like your different old lines that are maybe injury prone or maybe lacks so many abilities that you go out and get some of the Saints O line, and then you put the pieces together, getting some weapons on an offensive side, like I would just say Edmund, and then you also get another running back, and not to mention the biggest piece I would say is Tyreek Hill. It's about the Dolphins putting these pieces together to earn that respect from other teams. Like we just said last week, Jasmine, these teams, they know that they think all of their windows are open, so they're trying to capture it now. A lot of teams are trying to win now. They're not really trying to build so much for the future, but they're trying to win now because you have a lot of these different franchises blowing up, and you see a lot of these different, agencies and everywhere, getting to the big market, especially the AFC is getting to a much bigger and well talked about more than the NFC side. And I think the Dolphins are going in a right path, especially with their head coach is really an offensive mind. I want to see how our defense works with this new coach that we have, because it's been so dominant, but our offense has been very lax. But now we're going to have a great offense. I want to see how the defense is going to respond when it comes to this new coach and how we're going to keep going forward. And he hired more people on our staff. And I think the Dolphins right now, they're building themselves an identity that we are not just going to be the pushovers, like in your own division, to just say we're not going to roll over for the Chiefs. I mean, the Bills. We're not going to roll over for any other teams like the Patriots. We're trying to win now. And as legendary as our franchise has been back in the days, we're trying to make some history right now. So I think that's where our mindset is in the whole organization. And I think they are trying to build something right now.
Yeah, the Dolphins are moving in a very good direction. I remember last week we were looking at Twitter, we were looking at Instagram and waiting for updates because we saw that, the Chiefs are now open to trading Tyreek Hill, and the top two teams were the Jets and the Dolphins. We were like, oh, he has to go to the Dolphins. Like, I don't want to see him in New York with the Jets, and he's going to be upset. That whole team is not even, they're in a rebuilding stage, and he will have a better chance in Miami at winning than he will with the Jets, 100%. The the Dolphins finally got to a bunch of weapons. You draft Jalen Waddle, you have Devontae Parker still, you have Mike Gesicki at tight end. You add a good receiver, solid receiver in Cedric Wilson from the Dallas Cowboys. The ceiling is now. I mean, like, if you're looking at especially the AFC and how stacked it is, you make a move like that to get someone like that. And I think being that you have Mike McDaniel, who was the former offensive coordinator for the 49ers, he's going to add some of that Shanahan philosophy to Miami. So it's going to be very interesting to see how teams are going to match up defensively with this team. It's going to be a lot of guys running up and down the field. I think Tyreek Hill um, is going to be awesome because I saw one of the stats saying that they have to be Waddle and Tyreek are the fastest wide receiver duo currently, and I was like, man, it's going to be a whole track team over there and down there in Miami. But it's a very good, it's a very good look for the Dolphins because they've been the past couple of years now. They're starting to make a very positive moves in the right direction. It's just getting to that hump of getting into the playoffs and competing now. And I think they have a team to do that. It's just the putting those pieces together to a developing at a high level. And the defense, like you said, responding to the new coach. Obviously, he's not as defensive minded as other guys that have been there, and it's unfortunate because I was really I was hoping that the Dolphins kept Flores in making these moves because he was more of the defensive minded coach. And now you have an offensive minded guy who knows offense and you add offensive pieces. It's just the question is, can that Miami defense still step up and be good? They have been decent for the past couple of years, so I really want to see that. But Jeremiah, let's go to the Chiefs. What does this mean for the Chiefs? We all know Tyreek Hill was the security blanket. He was that guy for Patrick Mahomes. Besides, Travis Kelce and other guys that play there. But now that he's gone from the picture, what does Kansas City look like? Yeah, they signed Juju Smith-Schuster. They signed MVS from Green Bay. Marquez Valdez-Scantling from Green Bay. What does this Chiefs team look like without Tyreek Hill?
Well, when it comes to this team without Tyreek Hill, I think it's going to be the biggest test for Patrick Mahomes. We always we seen, especially, I'm not trying to make a huge comparison, but we seen what Aaron Rodgers did without Devontae Adams, before he came into the picture, being a rookie and everything else. We seen him win a championship, but have we seen Mahomes without Tyreek Hill? Being a great explosive offense as they were, and especially how many times that Tyreek would bail out Mahomes or sometimes, or he would be the best highlight when it comes to throw it up. I know Tyreek is down there somewhere. And, going through this next season right here, I worry about the Chiefs a little bit because when it came to last season, they were so close, right there in that AFC championship, but couldn't get past the Bengals because you let them come back. And then the previous year, you get blown out by the Bucks in the whole Super Bowl. And I feel like, if they're trying to build so much down the line, I feel like it's a huge risk for their team. Not saying you can't go for the lot of, picks because you got 5 picks. They're blessed to have it. But at the same time, I feel like the way this league is going right now, it's not too much of developing players rather than finding the one that's right now. And I think when it comes to the Chiefs right now, I don't want them to get into a big situation where they're in a huge identity crisis, especially in their whole division that they're in right now. Got the Chiefs, the Chargers upcoming. You got the Raiders, and then of course you got the Broncos right there. So it's very competitive when it comes to that whole division and trying to just keep up. And, it's a huge test at a certain point of time because now you guys are meat right now because a lot of teams are thinking, I remember when this team used to be blowing us out so much with Tyreek Hill. Let's see them do it without him. They're going to be coming at him. They're going to be coming at them. And I feel like I said before, it's the biggest test and the biggest challenge for them going down the road.
I agree. I believe Patrick Mahomes is still going to be a good quarterback. I think he's going to put up solid numbers this year, but I don't think it's going to be as big as it has been the past couple years because Tyreek Hill is a once in a lifetime generational talent. Like this guy could line up in the slot. He could line up as a running back, as a decoy, punt returns, kickoff returns, wide receiver. He did a lot of different things in the Kansas City offense that helped them get going, that helped them go off and fly high like they've been these past couple years. Now you subtract that. Yes, Travis Kelce's good. Mecole Hardman's good. Now you add Juju, you add MVS, but they're not Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is a monster. Even just him flying past different people, his route running ability, his down the field speed, it's ridiculous. So when I look at the Chiefs, it's going to be a big test to see how they recoup and try to, now Tyreek's gone, we have to fill that void. Mecole is fast. He's very fast. But the way they use Tyreek Hill in in Kansas City is going to be a void there, I feel, and it's going to be a big problem because you don't lose a guy like that when the Raiders just get Devontae Adams, when the Broncos get Russell Wilson, when you get a lot of these teams who are starting to stack offensively, and then you lose a big piece like that, that's a big deal for the Chiefs. The same way Devontae leaving Green Bay, that's a big deal for both of these teams. So we're definitely going to see how these teams match up and how the Chiefs will look without Tyreek. It's going to be a new season for a lot of people. But we're going to head to a break. But before we're going to a break, we want to get a special announcement from Kelly Johnson with weather and traffic. We'll be right back with the short break. Here we go.
Kelly Johnson with your Hits 88 traffic and weather on the 5s. The outer loop is backed up from Parkville into Pikesville. It clears past Reisterstown Road, but expect delays up to 40 minutes. The inner loop is heavy from 95 through Wilkins and looks like an accident on 70 East heading towards Columbia. Take 40 heading into the city. And in weather, current temperature is 44 degrees. Expect lows in the 30s tonight. Slight chance of snow overnight, but nothing to worry about. Should clear and will be in the 40s by noon tomorrow. This is Kelly Johnson for Hits 88.
Slow roasted over hickory fire and pulled by hand. This is the way pit pork has always been done. Pulled pork lovers, rejoice. The smoky old days are back at the Smoke Shack. From the creative team that brought you the Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Falling from the Sky.
You're watching Jasmine Pollock's First Impressions Sports Talk. Be sure to join Jasmine every week for great conversation on the NBA, NFL, and a wide variety of sports topics. To see past episodes of First Impressions Sports Talk, go to YouTube and search First Impressions Sports Talk. You can connect with Jasmine on LinkedIn by searching Jasmine Pollock. And now, back to more First Impressions Sports Talk.
Welcome back to First Impressions Sports Talk. And those two voices you heard were Kelly Johnson and Dion Hunter. And if you want to get involved in having voiceovers for your show or your project, please look out for my guy, Leon Thomas, the executive producer at theleonthomasgroup.com to get insights and different things like that for your project. So heading into the next topic, Jeremiah, let's talk about Baker Mayfield. So the Browns signed, obviously, Deshaun Watson. I've never been fond of Baker Mayfield. I don't think Baker Mayfield is a phenomenal quarterback. He's good enough. He's decent. He's safe. What does Baker Mayfield's future look like now that the Browns make a big signing to get Deshaun Watson?
Well, I think when it comes to Baker Mayfield right now, I think when it comes to his future, it's mostly going to be in a backup for this next season. Because I'm not saying Baker is a bust of a quarterback or a terrible quarterback. I think he's decent enough. Because I don't think he's going to win you championships, but he can probably get you maybe to the playoffs. That's as far as I really can say, especially what I'm getting for him from these last few seasons. Now, many people can say about the 11-game winning streak and when they beat up on the Steelers in that playoff game, but the Steelers, I'm not really counting that much because to be honest with you, it was like a one-trick pony through that year when it came to the Browns, because the next year they came back and they went down spiral. And then you had this last season that just happened with more confusion, and not to mention Baker Mayfield's history right now with these injuries. You have him constantly getting injured every time that he's out there. You have something either wrong with him or he's just not in it at all. And, that's the reason he's maybe throwing a lot of interceptions. His IQ is down and everything else. And plus, you can't really ask him to have any more help than he really had through these last few years with Jarvis, with Chubbs by there with his running back, and then you had also OBJ right there. It's such a shocker to me that this team never actually even went to maybe even the second round or maybe the AFC Championship, at least get there, but they continue to fall short each and every time. So many weapons, a great defense, and they have the great exposure. And you always see Baker on these commercials when it comes to each and every commercial you turn on, but it's just not, doing great on the field. And I think for the future for him, and especially for new teams that he's going to be on, he's going to be mostly a backup right now unless he proves me wrong.
Yeah, for me, with Baker being the number 1 overall pick back in 2018, with him winning the Heisman, I am disappointed in his level of play since he's been drafted. Yes, you've seen good spurts, obviously, like you mentioned, that 11-game win streak and then beating the Steelers in the playoffs, but it was just that. You know what I mean? And it's a question to him like, okay, they had the number 1 rushing offense at one point with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield, a great offensive line, and you had weapons that, could cause issues for defenses. You had a good enough defense that could play, that could get pressure and create turnovers, but he never got over the hump. He never got over, getting to that next level. And here's the thing, I know for me, when I look at I'm gonna mention them, the Bengals. Joe Burrow, his first season, got a nasty leg injury. Then the second season takes his team to the Super Bowl. Baker's been in this league for 4 years now. Hasn't even been to an AFC Championship. So I know people are looking like, hey, that's a big deal. And it's unfortunate because I genuinely don't know what his role could be in the future. Maybe some teams will pick him up. I'm sure there's teams that will bid for him because he is a number 1 overall pick. He is a Heisman Trophy winner. But now it's like, I'm looking at these other quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks, and they're excelling at a very high level compared to him. Like, I mean, you have Joe Burrow excelling. He just, came from the Super Bowl. You have Justin Herbert coming.
Josh
you have a lot of young quarterbacks. Right, Josh Allen. You have a lot of quarterbacks who are taking that step. And he is still in the same boat, and yes, the injuries are starting to pile on, and that's becoming a problem. But like you said, to me, I think he's going to be a backup. I don't want to say that. I think, he's decent. I'm not saying he's terrible, a bad quarterback, but he's decent. And I haven't seen anything that's like shocking to me, like, oh my goodness, he's going to be the best in the league. No, I have not seen that yet. And there's a lot of questions that I have. When you look at his stats, he has over 14,000 yards, 92 touchdowns, 56 interceptions with an 87.8 passer rating. It's decent. Like I said, it's decent. It's not like something like, wow, that's why, like he's great. But for me, like when you look at a lot of these teams, I see a lot of quarterbacks coming out of the draft that are starting to make some noise. You're starting to see a lot of these teams depend on a lot of veterans. You see a lot of these young, talented quarterbacks starting to take huge leaps. When I look at Baker, it's not like the Browns didn't put pieces around him. They put pieces around him. He's not enough. Enough is not going to win you championships in this league. We all know that you have to get over the hump. You have to be at that next level. And if I'm Baker, I would be offended, and I would be like, kind of like, man, Joe Burrow he went to the Super Bowl his second year playing. And I would be, if I'm Baker, I'm like, man, I need to step my game up because this kid just came in. He came from a nasty injury and took his team to the Super Bowl. So when I look at that, there might be teams out there that might give Baker a shot, but I don't know. But Jeremiah, what do you think? What teams out there, you can name some of the teams, what teams out there do you feel like could maybe take a chance on Baker?
Well, in back of my mind, I mean, the Colts denied him. I mean, they have a new quarterback in the Jets, but I don't know if they're open to make moves. But any team that's taking him right now, even the Browns, they're offering a lot of first picks. Still, teams do not want him, and that is a big red flag because I think when it comes to Baker, he's a good quarterback. He's a good, decent quarterback, like we said. But that window is closing for them to have that belief system inside of him. With so many that's coming from behind, so many that's building up, it's hard for me to find a really great place to say, I can see Baker right there to make a certain improvement, unless he's mostly riding the bench or going to be playing backup. Because right now, a lot of these jobs are being filled up, even from the ones that you wouldn't be able to see. Like, you just see Matt Ryan get traded, you see Carson Wentz, everybody around the league. But Mayfield, it's just hard for me to kind of see him right now on another team as a starter or that first choice, or even getting traded for a first round pick right now, rather than, because I know teams are going to go for second round picks. But teams are really big interested in. I think it's going to be a while before teams are really going to be looking at him, unless the Browns cut him.
I agree. We'll definitely see what's going to happen with Baker. I always root for, these young quarterbacks, because there's a lot of young quarterbacks that are striving right now. Do I think he's good enough? Yes, but I haven't seen enough. Maybe he needs a whole new scenery, maybe, just to thrive. But I haven't seen enough of him since college. For me to say, like, Baker needs a job. Baker is a great quarterback. No, when I look at Josh Allen's going to be here for a long time. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, a lot of these young quarterbacks are going to be around. Justin Herbert, Baker. You need to he hasn't put himself in that conversation with those guys, and he may need it. Like I said, he may need a whole new scenery change. Maybe he needs a whole new system that he needs to work with. But the window, like you said, is closing. A lot of these teams are starting, those quarterback positions are starting to be filled up. You still have the veterans like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they're still here, still doing what they do. And then you have the new young talent coming in. It seems like Baker is like the guys are moving here, and Baker's like, I'm staying right here, and it's not really working. But we'll definitely see what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot more where that comes from this Baker situation. But that wraps up tonight's show. Thank you, Jeremiah. This was a great conversation. There's going to be more sport, announcements coming soon, I'm sure. I'm still waiting for the Packers to do something. We need wide receivers. I'm really not understanding what's going on, but that's a conversation for another day. That wraps up tonight's show. See you guys next week on Jasmine First Impression Sports Talk on Mondays at 9 p.m. Have a good night.